Hey, spooky friends, and welcome to the Twisted Twins, hosted by Britt.
And Kay.
And hi, how are ya? We are so excited to see you and be in your little ear holes. We hope you're doing well.
Yes.
And we are sorry that we missed last week.
COVID.
Yep. And I had this gnarly ass cold. Oh my gosh. I swear, like, we both got whacked with the fucking ugly sickness stick. It was terrible, but
That was like the worst batch of COVID that I've had hit me in
yeah.
3 years. Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
Horrible. But we're here. We're alive. And if you're over on our YouTube watching this, which is the Twisted Twins podcast, then you will see that the theater kids, they are alive and well.
Yeah, I can't keep a theater kid down.
No. So any opportunity we get to dress up,
Just give me an excuse.
and this is the perfect episode for that because it is, as you see, Cryptids of the Deep. So on a mermaid look.
Yes. We have a little look going on. We've got some gills and some fangs and some smeared blood.
Yes.
Yes, and we slicked back our hair.
Yeah, the hair, man. So we did like some wet and gel, and we get it. We get why gel is the best. Everything just stays.
Yeah, I had never, because typically, like, if I get out of the pool, my hair is like a helmet on my fucking head, and I just look like this, like,
it's like
the guy from fucking
some volume.
Yes, like the guy from oh no, Rocky Horror with the bald head and the long. I'm like, oh my gosh! But I gelled my hair, and I was like, okay. I mean, there's like you put a little volume in there, you get things going. I was like, damn. It took me 2 minutes, and I was like, no wonder this is so popular to gel your hair back.
It's
So smart. Yeah, yeah.
And it just stays. It's crazy. But anyway, back to the episode.
Yes.
Cryptids of the Deep. So freaking exciting. And there are so many water cryptids.
There are. And we are going to be covering 5 of them. So let's jump on into it. No pun intended. I have a few puns in my notes. So sorry ahead of time. Let me throw on my glasses real quick.
Also, I just caught a glimpse of myself. I decided, since it's Cryptids of the Deep, that it was 101 degrees today and I was going to go swimming because I am taking on the persona of a mermaid all day today. But super sunburned. So don't mind me. I like literally just grazed my eyes across me and I was like, oh my gosh, this is.
You look like a bronze goddess. Here we go. Don't forget that SPF, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget that SPF. So, the first creature I'm going to be discussing is called a Nyx or a Nixie. Now, I had never heard of this before.
I know like the water cryptid, I've never heard of it either, but I know like the water cryptids, mine at least, are not as cute as their names might sound.
You're right.
But Nixie sounds super cute, like a little pixie.
I know. And so this name or word is German. And what's interesting is that the origins of this kind of creature in mythology dates back to like ancient pagan traditions and beliefs. And they were almost viewed as like a deity or a water god. So, because a lot of like paganism, if that's the term I'll coin real quick, it's giving like deity or power to things in nature. So obviously,
I thought that you were saying like it's giving. Giving, like, I don't know if any of you guys are on that side of TikTok where everything is giving like
Yeah.
this. That's just like immediately what I'm like. She is not saying that right now.
It's
Sorry about that.
giving mermaid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, obviously, nature, God kind of situation, deity, creature. Below that, kind of, you know, obviously giving claim and belief into water sprites, which I love that fucking word. It's
I
so
know.
cute. Or water elves. So this one in particular is kind of like associated with water elves, but I'll get into it. So this was a very big like Nordic belief, and we're talking, you know, a lot of Western Europe believed in this creature, maybe by a different name, but most sources it was Nixie, that kind of thing. But Germans actually began writings about Nyx spirits in the year 1180. Which, my goodness, that is a long, long ways, long, long time ago. But what I thought was kind of interesting, because I came across this and I was like, oh, what the heck is a Nixie? That sounds so cute. So Nixie is actually the plural form of Nyx. And males, male Nixie are called Nyx, and then the female ones, like, just say bless your heart you can't speak German, you have no German accent, because it's like female is Nixie. So it's, I'm gonna say Nix when I'm talking about men, and then Nixie when I'm talking about plural. Okay, so stick with me.
Okay.
It's a little tricky. It's a little tricky, but so this particular, you know, mythological creature has been around for a very, very long time. It's been talked about, discussed, all of that stuff for quite a while. But German mythology refers to the Nixie as half human, half fish creatures that dwell in fresh water. So basically, beneath the water's surface lies a huge network of underwater castles and palaces. I'm going to describe what they're.
Honestly, like, we haven't even discovered. I know you said freshwater, but when you really think about every single lake and pond and river and the ocean, there's so much, I believe it, underwater.
I know. And it makes me think of Atlantis, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
but in a like a freshwater lake or something.
exactly.
So to kind of give a description of what these creatures look like, if you guys have seen the Harry Potter films, specifically, I'm talking about Goblet of Fire, when Harry has to go into the lake and face the mermaids that are in the lake. Nixies, not Nixies, Nixie look a lot like those particular mermaids. So they have long, greenish scaled fish tails. And now some sources said it was like one solid, typical kind of mermaid tail. And then others said it was like think of like a humanoid figure, and then the legs are like scaled and like end with a fin. So it has like two fins kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um
I don't know why that hit me so like, no.
yeah, I know. They have gills in the side of their neck. And then they have like fins around their forehead. Their fingers obviously are webbed with long, very long nails. Razor sharp.
Right, it's those teeth.
It
Now you're in
is.
my world.
I'm gonna flick them out. So they have razor sharp teeth. Um, And black pitless eyes, typically.
Oh, that's creepy.
I know. But what is interesting, I think I'm gonna lose this tooth in this episode. That's so interesting, right? So so
And not
um
a tooth for anyone who's not watching. Not a real tooth. Brittany has
yes.
fake teeth in right now.
Yes, they're fangs. I love my fang teeth. They're so freaking cute. They're fun. I feel so fun. Anyway, so although Nixie are considered a mermaid-like species, they're often classified as water nymphs or water elves because Nixie can transform. Now, a Nix male can shapeshift into a full fish, a snake, or like a straight, like top and bottom human, like with human legs, you know? Now, the female can shift really just into a human. She doesn't have all those fun other animals that she can like shift into.
Hmm.
So
So
Nixie, say that.
kind of like is it kind of like that children's show that the movie that just came out? Not just came out, but
Kind of, yeah.
yeah. What the heck is
Yeah.
that called?
Luca.
Yeah, Luca.
Yeah, I kept thinking of that show that was on when we were younger, H2O,
Oh yeah.
where they hit the water and their tail comes,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Or like Aquamarine.
Yeah.
Shout out Aquamarine. She had to be near water. I'll get into it. Okay, hold on.
Sorry.
That's you're good. You're good. I got ahead of myself. So, Nixie are said to be bearers of unnatural magnetic sex appeal. Like,
Say less.
I know.
Literally.
I know. So, one of the best gifts that these fearsome and often malevolent creatures.
Oh my gosh.
I said it.
Did everyone just hear that? Let's hear it again, Brittany.
Oh gosh, malevolent.
Oh my gosh, you did it. It's so funny. Side note, I know I'm just like throwing this in, but when today we were talking about the episode in our notes, and that was something.
Mhm.
How long did you practice malevolent?
Oh my gosh, I didn't earlier. I kept tripping myself up because I kept saying manilevant, and I was like, no, and then I was like maleficent, and I'm like, no, what the heck, malevolent. See, now we're back at it, back where it belongs.
Yeah,
Okay.
great.
So these often malevolent creatures, um, like one of their best gifts is their allure and their ability to lure in people. So, one of their most common interactions with humans is savagely killing young children and women, fishermen, pregnant women, unbaptized children. Yeah. Yeah.
It seems like some things were added to their description of what they.
Right? Right? I
That
know.
thing sounds a little bit like let's force beliefs down people's throats. But okay, yeah,
Yes.
that first pinged for me when you said it like only ate women and children. Wait a second, but then you said like fishermen. It's like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
but yeah, now we're back at it. I don't know about that.
Yeah. So, if Nixie were to walk the earth in their human shape-shifted form, they would be almost inconspicuous, but only almost. So there are two major ways to kind of spot, actually more like three major ways to spot a Nix if they're like walking about and you're like, this person is fishy, no pun intended, is that they stay close to water so they don't go far from any body of fresh water which made me think about
Oh,
aquamarine,
yeah.
and then H2O as well. Now, also the hem of their clothing, like a dress, olden times, think of like a woman in a dress, the bottom part of her dress, or the men, bottom parts of their pants.
Okay. What about them? Hang in there, guys.
The hem of both men and women's clothing to
What happened
describe.
to the hem of the pants?
I know. They were wet. Okay, so damp. Like this person just went through water, and I'm like, what if it was really raining one day, and then people are like, "You're a Nix." Like,
It was raining one day. I'm pretty sure more than just one wet.
you're right. You know, they got their like little suitcase, and then when they get to shore, they're like, "Oh, I gotta get dressed. Oops, my hips are wet. My hem is wet, not hims are." Anyway, so and according to Grimm's fairy tales, they would have slit ears where human ears should be. So I would think that that would be pretty obvious to see, you know?
Like they'd just have like
Yeah, like almost put up their gills or their fish ears, which is kind of cool. Um so Nixie, what's really cool about them is they are talented musicians. Now they love music, they love song, all of that kind of stuff. You can often hear Nixie playing the violin, for instance. And if you do, we might not see you again because let me get into it. So, what I want to know is like, what is with fairies and being like lovers of a good rager, like party animals?
all that is from the woodland side of the Fae all the way down to the deep depths below. Fae are just
They
great.
throw a good party, man.
They are there for it. You
Yeah,
stuck at a Fae party for 15 years. I
I
mean,
know.
15 like life Earth years is what I should say. But still,
Right.
that's too long.
I know. I know. Like people are always like, don't go to their parties. Don't go to their parties. I'm like, yeah, because them motherfuckers be partying for so long. Like, damn. Go and rest in your little fairy realm. Just kidding. So, apparently, Nyx have beautiful voices. So beautiful that they can mystify their victims in a trance to their deaths. Now, Nixie are reported to also be silly or playful, um, not always out to kill you, almost kind of like as like this trickster creature you come about, and they're just like playing around, messing around.
They have the option to kill you, but they probably won't.
No, I'm not saying that. It's like the other way. They really want to kill you, but the odds of them like actually just wanting to chill with you or hang out or play with like play around with you are low. So I would say the killing is high, the other is low.
Fair enough.
But with Fae, all types of Fae, I've always really liked the reference Happy Tree Friends, where they can either be in that little cartoon, that show, it was like very cute, like cuddly little creatures, but they could turn like really evil. So I kind of like associate Fae with that kind of mindset. In Nyx, I should say, are no different. So getting into really where these guys are, like I said, freshwater. So we're talking lakes, rivers, streams, brooks, like really any place that there could be. Not like a babbling, like shallow little brook, but you know, or down at the crook. So basically, Nyx slash Nixie, water nymphs in general, they are not your friend. So, if you're out and about on a little hike, don't stop and chat to little things. No, I'm just kidding. Um, so I mentioned women and children, like being primary kind of easy kills or something, easy food for these creatures. So in Scandinavian traditional cultures, Nixie music is extremely enthralling. Like I was saying, violin. Picture like a beautiful little Scandinavian mermaid playing the violin, and you're like, completely in a trance. Um, Now, they would often yikes-a-doodle, lure women or unbaptized children. I just wrote dot 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 in my notes, like,
Okay.
now the spread of Christianity was happening. Just kidding.
It's like the person's like, you won't believe what I saw. I just saw this amazing creature, blah blah blah. And then the person walking by is like, oh, I also heard that they'll eat unbaptized children. Yeah.
Mhm.
Someone just
Yep.
anyway.
It's like, okay, okay. So, with this thought, villagers were very, very wary, obviously, on the more or less like trending or hotspot days that these creatures would come out and about. Now, there were really three main days of the year that these creatures would come out and, work on luring in women, children, fishermen, all of that jazz. And that was specifically Midsummer's Night, Christmas Eve, Christianity, sprinkling in, and Thursdays, oddly enough. Hey guys, it's Thursday. Be on the lookout now. Don't go near any water.
Yeah, what?
I know, so random. So random. So many, and this is off the record, so don't come for me, Nix. I'm just kidding. Many male and female Nixies reportedly have married human spouses and even have had children with these human spouses. Now, kind of like as mythology has us to believe, or really the kind of rumor mill, if you will, that after the after I had some Dayquil today. I'm feeling a little silly. What? What's that purple drink, Lil Wayne? I think I had some. I'm just kidding. What? I don't know what that is. Don't. I didn't really do that. Okay.
You did.
Isn't it like Robitussin and Sprite or something gross?
To make lean.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't do that. Promise. So after the human spouse passes away, the Nyx spouse would just disappear. Often the thought was that they were returning back to their water home after like their love died.
Aww.
So, or if they didn't just like disappear completely, as soon as this, person really just came around or popped into like the local community, they would like always live near water. So I thought that was kind of like aquamarine. Like aquamarine, guys. Crazy eyes. So like I said, water nymphs, Nyx or Nixie, they are not your friend. You're most likely their food. Back to you, Kayla.
Right?
Yep, so those are the Nyx or Nixie sirens. And when you picture them, think of the Harry Potter mermaids because the pictures online, they look exactly like them to me. Very much like them. So, ugh.
I liked the mermaids from Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm.
Thought they were cool.
Except for like a child will die if you fail. Like, my
Yeah,
gosh.
like, but like, were they going to? Because like, I know the big thing is like, oh, the Goblet of Fire, people die.
Yeah, yeah.
People that didn't put their names in, you
I
know.
haven't I haven't read the book, but that was always like my impression that they were gonna just let that girl
Yeah.
around.
Anyway,
But
before we get into a Harry Potter debate,
yeah.
I want to talk about sirens. Now, I want to preface this with sirens are not mermaids, especially lately. Um, like within the last like 20 minutes. No, recently, I should say. Um, a lot of people have been mistaking sirens and mermaids all over the place. But there's two really big differences. A mermaid is that traditional mermaid, what you would think of. They live in the water. They're half women, half fish.
Yeah.
Traditionally, there have been sightings of men, mermaid.
Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. They've been spotted.
There have been some sightings of mermen, but it's way less men sightings than there are women. Anyways, and a siren is half woman, half bird. Yeah,
Okay.
interesting. And so sirens, they date back to Greek mythology. That's kind of the first, well, that's literally what they were created from. So, in the earliest Greek myths, sirens were represented. They represented the beautiful woman who rested on the shore of the ocean, singing a love song to lure in men, and they also played string instruments, which I found interesting. Um,
Oh.
and a lot of the, well, from what I know from uh, Cryptids of the Deep, is that the kind of goal for all of them, they might look beautiful and sing beautifully and seem really like alluring or whatever. Um, they want to kill and eat humans.
Yeah.
And like, I really want to preface that as much as I can. Um, every single water cryptid wants to kill and eat humans. That's their whole goal.
I
And
know.
sirens are no different. That is literally their goal. They will play their music, they will sing their love songs, they will drag you in and make you think that they are about to make some sweet, sweet love to you or who knows what. And then they will either drag you straight down to the bottom of the ocean until you drowned and then eat you, or they will just eat you.
Or they'll just eat you right then and
Yeah.
there.
Either way, you're eaten.
Yeah.
Um, in the Greek mythology, sirens were the daughters of the river god, the Achelous, who lived on the island of Cyrenum. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that right, but that's literally how I got the pronunciation. But in some myths, they were created to be the playmates of a young Persephone, and they were created into monsters by her mother Demeter after Hades abducted Persephone. So that's kind of the story of them, or the history of them, is that um, they were created by the Greek gods.
Okay.
Yeah. And just a fun little fact is, so men, the whole idea of a siren is they're gonna sit there either on the shore or on a rock, like how you would assume mermaid would be sitting or something, um
Yeah.
but they're these beautiful creatures, right? And then men who heard their song, they become entranced almost. You know, they are just wow, just completely
Yeah.
mesmerized, and they go right up to them, and then they are met with the most gruesome death. Yeah. One of the first one of the first readings stories about sirens that is kind of popular, a lot of people know it, is from the Odyssey. Now I did read the Odyssey back in high school, which I'm not proud to say. It was probably 15 years ago. Did read the Odyssey, and I don't remember it specifically other than I'm pretty sure that he tied all of his oh no, he made his whole crew stuff their ears with like rags and stuff so they couldn't hear the like song of the siren, and then he tied himself to the boat so that he could keep steering it no matter what they tried,
Yeah.
and then they came down and did all that stuff. Anyway, so that's like the first writings of a siren, was the Odyssey. Another really important siren story, and again, it's going to be a little conflicting because it is The Little Mermaid, but not the one you think, but the one by Hans Christian Andersen. So the original Little Mermaid it's not technically a siren, but it has the same characteristics. So a lot of people say The Little Mermaid's about sirens, and that's kind of where that mix up has kind of happened. Um,
Okay.
yeah, they're not mermaids. They are winged women whose song forces the ships into the rocky shores, or that they lead you to a mesmerized um, death. Like they'll make you come off jump they'll make you come off a cliff. They'll make you jump off. Anyways, they're
So
gonna
they don't live in the water at all?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh, for sure. Because they're these winged creatures, and as far as I know, but I will do a little tidbit of The Little Mermaid, the original one.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's still kind of the same, still kind of the same story. There's the mermaid, the Little Mermaid, and she has all of these sisters, and they live in the water. But the story's a little different because once a mermaid turns 15, they are allowed to go on land for the first time. And once they go on land, then they have legs and they can walk around and they can experience that, but only for that day. And then they come back into the water. And then after that, after their first time, they can go back on land once a year.
Okay.
So Ariel, or the little mermaid, her character in the original is the youngest again. So she gets to experience seeing her sisters go on land all the time, or
Yeah.
and she's really jealous and she loves their stories and they're really close. It's not like they were kind of all weird in the Disney movie. Anyway,
Yeah.
she is dying to go on shore, and then she sees this, like, these fisherman, sailor, or whatever. She's like watching the humans doing whatever, and she sees, just like they do in Little Mermaid, the sailors are having like a party or whatever. I think it was a party, right? Or was it a shipwreck? No, it was a party at first.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like the dog was dancing.
Yeah.
I honestly haven't seen The Little Mermaid in really long, like the actual movie version. But anyways, so she watches them have a party and she falls in love with this guy, like she's like, oh my gosh, this guy, he's so hot, I love this guy. And then
Yeah.
their ship, I believe their ship wrecks, and she pulls him out of the water, saves him, gives him CPR or whatever, the kiss of life. And as he's coming back to life, she freaks out and she goes and like hides in the rocks. And then he like gets up and he's like, oh my gosh, you saved me. And this other woman comes and goes, oh, I'm the one who saved you. And then he falls in love with her. Yeah.
Oh no.
And she, like, the Little Mermaid is literally watching this happen, and she's like, I saved him. I love him. Like, what the heck? And the lady's like, yes, I'm the one who saved you, blah, 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 whatever. So then they go off and they're going to get married, apparently. Like,
So
whatever.
like Ursula's role
So,
when she was on land, kind of.
yeah, yeah. But
Okay.
early of it. So then the Little Mermaid goes back into the water and she goes up to like a sea witch, and she's like, I want to go on land, I want to be on land, and I'm not 15 yet, so I need to have my legs or whatever. And she tells her that I don't remember what she had to give up. Oh, so the sea witch is like, okay, I'm going to grant you this access, but because you're going on land and you're having these legs, you're going to be in massive pain. And the Little Mermaid's like, I don't understand what pain is, so whatever, not a big deal. Well, apparently it was like really painful for her to walk. Like her legs really hurt, and it was really just difficult for her to kind of move around. And then she sees the prince, okay, and then he takes her back to his castle or whatever and starts like treating her like a pet almost. Like she sleeps at the foot of his bed and he like literally pets her. Yeah, it's weird. And so part of the deal was that if she didn't get him to fall in love with her in like a couple days, then the Little Mermaid was gonna die. So yeah, it's like so intense. But she gets there, he starts treating her like a pet, and it's weird and like yucky. And so she's like, and then is obviously in love with this other woman who lied about it. And she realizes that he is never going to love her. So she knows her death is coming soon, right? This is like her mindset. And she's trying to like, not freak out. Well, her sisters knew about her going to the sea witch and trying to get on land and whatever. And
Yeah.
they're like, they know somehow and they want to get their sister out of this contract. So they go to the sea witch and she makes them cut all their hair off and give it to her. And then she gives them the ability to go, um, not to go on land, but to get her out of the contract. The sea witch creates like a knife and gives it to them and says, he can be killed and then his blood has to fall on her feet and then it'll turn her back into a mermaid and then she'll be free of the curse, right? Otherwise, no, she's gonna die. So they cut all their hair off, they give it to the sea witch, they take the knife, and then they go find the Little Mermaid. They see their sister and they tell her, they give her the knife, and they're like, kill him and put his blood on your feet and then you'll be back to normal and you'll be back with us and you'll live happily ever after with us. But she can't do it. She's still in love with him,
Oh
right?
no.
Yeah. So she's like, I'm not gonna kill myself. I'm not gonna do that or whatever. And she's just laying there, and then like you think she dies, but because it was such like a thing out of love, like true love, that she was willing to not kill him, the curse is broken anyways, and she gets to go back in the ocean, but she loses the love of her life.
Oh.
Oh, it's so sad.
She
But
was a little young.
literally, yeah. Yeah, you ain't wrong there, girly. But yeah, so a little different. And again, I know that it's like, oh, I spent all this time saying that, sirens aren't mermaids, and then I'm gonna tell you about the Little Mermaid. But I thought it was interesting because I've never heard that story, and that is technically considered like a siren story now. And I think it's just because so many of the water cryptids have such similar things
Yeah.
that people just kind of lump them all together, although they are very separate. Um,
Yeah.
Even the one that I'll talk about later, it's the same, not the same thing, but there are similarities. And in all my research with that, it was like prefacing like, these are not sirens, they're different things, and they're literally completely different. But
Right.
yeah, it's good to know all the fun stuff. And that's such a bummer of a book or a
I
story.
know. I
Yeah.
know.
But yeah, what are you gonna do? That is sirens for you guys.
That is so fascinating. What so they're kind of like winged fairies then.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Interesting.
but they are by the water at all times. Like they don't fly around the world. They're,
Oh,
that's what makes them water is they must like dive. Well, they do dive deep in the water because that's where they'll drown you too.
so kind of
I don't
like a
know.
seagull
Yeah.
or like a crane. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I love all the like mythological folklore type stuff. I think it's fun.
Yeah, it is.
Um, okay, so my next one, I had actually not heard this specific type before because in my head I'm like mermaids are everywhere. Like in every culture, there are mermaids and mermen. Mermaids are also sirens. Like that was in my thing too. But this one is very interesting. So I heard the pronunciation, and I'll have a few funny little pronunciations in here that my American ass is not the greatest at saying. So these ones I'm going to talk about are very interesting. So really popular in British and Welsh folklore. This is about a humanoid water creature that are called the Morgan or the Morgan.
Mm.
So two different pronunciations. I'm going to say Morgan. So these guys, they have the looks, they have the seduction, but like the others we've talked about, they're very tricky and hypnotizing in kind of a unique way, in my opinion. So the Morgen are known as the bathing maidens. I know.
Love that for them.
Yes, and on the Britannica Encyclopedia, there's like a beautiful woman like bathing herself, and that's like so hypnotizing. But anyway, um, so they're luring their victims in with their looks and with their beautiful voices. Now, they also have powerful water manipulation abilities. Morgan apparently can flood villages, sink ships, ruin and flood crops, as well as fill in the banks of a dried lake bed, bring a heavy rain, like that kind of thing. So it's like very bad, but also potentially very good. So there are also many tales, no pun intended, about fishermen. Oh, so get this, get this, get this. Okay. So there's many tales about fishermen discovering infant morgans near the shore. Morgans, I said morgans, morgans near the shoreline of like a bay or, anywhere there's a shoreline, okay? Um, and they raise these infants into, young adults until really they're old enough to return back to their sea home. And this kind of made me think of the 13th year.
Oh,
Another reference. Um, Now, I have another interesting story about a Morgan with the powerful manipulation of water. Let me go change my notes. Okay, so this takes place in France, and some of these words are hard to say, so bear with me. So, in the 1400s, the king of the French island, Is, King Gradlon, had one and only daughter, and her name was Dayut. Now, Dayut was what they kind of called a loose woman. She was known to have loose morals, to be very wicked, very, very wicked, and a woman with many lovers. I'm not saying that they said it, okay? Apparently, during her many treks down this road of a harlot, um, she encounters the devil himself and strikes a deal with him for power. Now, as legend has it, there's actually two different kind of storylines. So I'm going to give you the first and then I'll give you the second. So, Dayut is able to obtain the strength and power to steal her father's keys, and literally like keys to the city, basically metro or the village, the island, so, the world. I'm just kidding. So she's wanting this power to be able to steal her father's keys and basically claim her right to the throne and to everything. So literally and figuratively uses these keys to unlock the floodgate of Eos, causing mass destruction. Now, some of their stories said that this happened like during a little sexy rendezvous with one of her lovers. Like she unlocked the gate to go closer to the water, not realizing that it was a floodgate kind of thing. But I feel like I'm giving her too much credit for that because I'll get into it. So the floodgates open, the sea is literally rushing in to this island city, and her father was awoken by a saint. Now this plays a big part. Her father flees away on horseback, only to come across Daout, Daout in his pursuit of the flooding city. So after putting her on the horse, actually picking up and saving his daughter, she's on the horse with him. He quickly realizes he cannot travel fast enough with her on the horse's back. And he heard a voice in his head say, I'll paraphrase it, basically, kick the demon off your horse unless you want to perish. That's what this voice told him. So what did he do? He's thinking like he hears his voice. He's thinking like, what do I do? What do I do? The sea is coming. The water is lapping against his steed's legs. So he literally tosses her off and into the oncoming flood and retreats to safety. Now,
come back.
Listen.
Okay.
So once her father, retreats to safety and can kind of like get a good eye on where he threw his daughter to the sea, he watches her get carried out into this wave. Fucking whirlpool opens up, takes this girl, and she turns into a Morgan. Instead of dying, like her near death kind of like power switch was to turn into a Morgan. Now, the second kind of version of this tale I find very interesting. So, basically, she strikes up this deal with the devil. She's a very wicked girl. So, Daout actually kills her father successfully, gaining his keys and her nobility. Pardon me. All of that, only to cause a most terrible flood for her wickedness from God himself. So he said, you killed your dad, you're doing all this stuff, you're a bad, bad, bad girl, I'm going to flood your city, basically.
You're a bad, bad, bad girl.
Yeah, you're a bad, bad girl. How dare you? Daout quickly realizes that she cannot escape this flooding city. The water is tumbling and filling her city. The city she killed her father for. It was all for naught. Like at the end of the day, it was all for naught.
Was that the phrase that you were thinking of earlier when we were on FaceTime?
No. It's coming.
Oh.
It's they're coming. she's carried away out to sea, tumbling through the waves and becoming trapped in this insane rip current. She goes out further away from her city. Everybody's dying. The city is drowning. It's flooding. Somehow, she transforms with the wicked gifts and powers she received from the devil into a Morgan. So, really, either version of this particular folklore ends the same. But the city of Eos is underwater, where even the sunken church bells can still be heard ringing beneath the surface. And a haunting Morgan demon of a once princess still dwells in its swells. but but the French shitty. I'm taking these off, my goodness. The French city of Eos is just off the coast of, you know.
Oh, I don't know.
It's just off the coast of the Brittany countryside in France. Is a beautifully tragic myth. Now, this whole story is a very mythical. It's a mythical city. It's a folklore tale or a legend. Um, and think about this, like an otherworldly, godly tale of a devilish girl flooding her city because of her like terrible actions. And what was interesting is when I was looking at the pronunciations, the spelling of her name of like Princess Daun, Daun translates to the English word for dam. And I was like, now it's Damn, but it could be used in two different ways. Not only is like damnation for being a terrible person, you should live and be a good person, but
Yeah.
also dam as in flood, be a good person. And I don't know. I just thought
Well,
that
right.
that was pretty.
Well, like a water dam is DAM.
Yes.
I was
Yeah.
reading that. It could be
Yes.
both.
I've known that since like first grade. Relax. Relax. Beavers make their dam. So stupid. But I was like, that's like a little bit too close for me to be like, first of all, like damnation, and then all of them, what in damnation? And then also just drop that in and it's a dam,
Hard.
The city flooded because she was so wicked. She transformed into this crazy evil fucking Morgan. Like, come on. So as I was doing my notes, um, my sweet, sweet daughter was watching a movie with me, and it kind of just got me thinking, which this is kind of very, I have two very random, like off the wall pop culture examples of a Morgan, and I kind of want to run it by you. So hear me out. Ponyo.
Yeah.
And then I wrote, let's discuss. Because her father is literally like a man. It could be like Morgan or a fucking Nixie.
Yeah.
So like a Nixie clan because they're like part fish, half human, that kind of thing. So I was like, oh, we were watching Ponyo. And I was
Well,
like,
and she can transform into a real girl
yeah,
when she goes on.
yep, yep, that's what I was thinking. Yep. And so also, which I just kind of stumbled upon this. One of my really good friends was like, "You have to read this book series," and I'd seen it like going viral on TikTok, and I just hadn't picked up the books until a couple like a month or two ago, and I read all of them, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Got Kayla to read them,
Yeah.
she's going through right now. But what was cool is throughout these particular books, there are often mention, you know, of water nymphs, of sirens, water fae, water monsters that kind of like resemble a lot of these kind of cryptids or mythological creatures, if you will, which I just like really loved. I didn't realize how much I would get into reading fantasy.
Mhm.
But if you haven't already guessed, I'm talking about Sarah J. Maas's books. Now, she has several different series, and they all kind of have to deal with some aspect of fae. So I love that in and of itself. But I also was like, hey, they talk about a lot of, excuse me, fae creatures or, you know, um, water nymphs, things like that, that water sprites. Like, I don't know. I thought it was worth mentioning it because I'm obsessed with it right now.
And now that we have said it on all of your guys' devices, your little FBI agents will be making sure that you guys see it on TikTok too. Like literally,
Yeah.
Britt had just like told me about it, and I saw the whole freaking series on TikTok just scrolling through. But it didn't ruin it for me. It's such a good series.
Yeah, I really, really, really liked it. And she just, so I'm talking like A Court of Thorns and Roses. Those books are fantastic. I read Throne of Glass. Those are really good too. And now I'm kind of diving into Crescent City for any of our bookworms out there. But they're just really fun books. And if you guys have any suggestions for like really fun and, you know, steamy fantasy novels, shoot me a DM, leave me a comment, something. Okie dokie. So those are my two mermaid creatures, type creatures. And on to you, Kay.
Yes. So, my second cryptid of the deep for today is going to be kelpies. So, kelpies are a no, not mythological, but they're a cryptid of Scotland. And I feel like a lot of my cryptids and fae, I always get pulled back into Scotland. But that's where we're at with tonight's second cryptid. So, kelpies are often referred to as water horses, but there are a little bit of a difference between like kelpies. It's like water horse is the, you know, the whole thing, and then kelpies are like a type of water horse. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. But they are horse-shaped water spirits. So they are from the Fey world, and they are a
Okay.
characters. But just because they're a fairy horse does not mean they are like a cute little unicorn that you might be picturing. That's like jumping off of a rainbow and like so happy and fun fairy land. Like, no, they are anything but that. Um,
Oh.
most legends of the Kelpie carry a very clear and loud warning, and it is if you are human, stay away from them. Stay away.
Oh, wow.
It's not something fun and cute. It's all bad. They are shapeshifters, so it's hard to say what their true form looks like, but they are usually in the form of a white, black, or gray horse. And sometimes they have like a dripping wet mane.
Okay.
Yeah, so they look like they are literally a horse that's wet. Um,
Okay.
but if a human, especially a child, again, of
Oh,
course,
no.
is unwise enough to get on their backs, which makes
Ooh.
it because when we talked about other fae, I'm totally blanking on the name, and it was my fae. But they can shapeshift into a horse, and then a human gets on their back. Get off!
Oh, I remember that guy.
Yeah, he was a sprite, I think, also.
Yes.
Yeah, sneaky. And was it a bog?
No. Oh my gosh, what was his name? He was the one who would sit on your porch
Yeah,
and just start talking to you.
he's in A Court of Thorn and Roses also. Um,
Um,
it's the first one she sees.
a soul, are we saying sulky right now?
Mm-mm.
Is
No,
that its name?
no. The first one that transforms into the.
It's got to be the
Oh,
bog.
that's what it is.
The puka.
Yeah.
The bog.
Anyways, yeah, I don't know because
The
I've
bog's eternal stench.
no, I'm in there. Okay, so just like our episode about the Fae, where we talk about the puka and how it turns into a horse, but they're way less sinister than the kelpies. But
Yeah.
anyways, it's the same thing. Why are you getting on it? Don't get on it. You know, whatever.
Yeah. It's
But
not your horse, man.
if you get on their back, they will take off to the nearest river or pool of water, dragging their rider underwater as deep as they can, drowning them, and then eating them. So here we go again. They will either just drown you and kill you and eat you later, or they'll just eat you right there. It's just like, don't mess with them.
Yeah.
Ew, and this is what's creepy too, is just by touching them, your hands can become stuck to them. So even if you're just like, oh, what a pretty horse, and then you're stuck and then they take you down.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah. It's gross. Now, this is interesting. Because they are a type of fae, they are a fairy. It's not really right that I keep calling them cryptids because they're not a cryptid, they're a fairy. But you can also like protect yourself from them or capture them in a way. A lot of them wear a type of magic. I'm assuming,
Bridal.
yeah, a bridle, and you have the option to take control of them use because of that. Okay, so
Okay.
might steal the bridles to force a kelpie to stay in human form as their groom, which sucks. But if you cut the bridle off, it can even kill the kelpie if it's not returned in a day.
Okay.
And then alternately, placing a human-made bridle on the kelpie, especially one with an iron bit, which there it is again, like iron and fae, it always goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
That will trap them in their horse form, and that forces them to become enslaved by humans. So there's actually a story about it where this man I can't pull it up, but there is a story you guys can look up if you want to about kelpies in general, and it's way back in old Scotland, and I am so sorry I'm blanking on the name of the laird, but essentially he takes control of this kelpie, puts it in horse form, gets it in the iron belt, and then enslaves it to build his entire castle, and the castle is still there to this day, right?
Wow.
But yeah, so then he finally ends up releasing him after his castle is made, and they say that the kelpie, when it was released, put a curse on the laird and his land,
Ooh.
eternity. So then at that point they were trying to like hunt it back down and kill it, because if they killed it, it would kill the curse. So interesting little
Yeah.
about that. I don't know. I think there's a lot of different things that you can do, but why would you try to enslave it? I think you deserve to be cursed at that point.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe not cursed, but like it's a little dramatic. But
I
uh,
know.
yeah. So some more interesting things about the kelpies. There is one tale where a man tricked by a kelpie simply wrestles the creature until they happen into shallow water. Okay, so basically just fights him back off until they get to more shallow water where he's able to stand and get away.
Yeah.
honestly, that works. And I feel like if you're able to stick to them, maybe they're like, fine, you win. You know,
Yeah.
who knows what it is though. But kelpies can also take human form.
Ah,
So again, not to get confused with sirens, because there it is again, or mermaids where they're taking on a human persona, or even
yeah.
a, a nixie, because they can go on,
Mhm.
right. But they will appear in a couple different ways, either as a beautiful woman, and that would be to lure men into the water, siren style, but do not confuse them with a siren. While other kelpies can transform into men who either, like big, burly men who either take down their smaller, meeker women and then kill them that way, which, like trauma for
Yeah.
out there, or they do the lure thing as well and look like some tall, you know, sexy guy and lures the women that way.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's
oh, go ahead.
going back to going back to the Court of Thorns and Roses series, there's a Kelpie in one of the books, and that's all I'll say, but ugh, creepy.
Yeah, there literally is it. It's just nothing good about, running into a kelpie. So if you do, I mean, try to fight off as best as you can. If you don't have any iron on you, you're kind of fucked. If you can wrestle your way back to shallow waters, more power to you. Good luck.
Yeah.
But pretty much, you're gonna die. So do what
Hmm.
you can to avoid them, because that would be a huge bummer. But if you do run into a kelpie, send us an email or a comment.
Send us a pic.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but I think it's also interesting. Like, obviously, when you talk about like mermaids, and then you read the story of the Little Mermaid, it's like human in that sense. Humans have the option to like kill them as well, or what, and I guess they always do. But
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting that they can be controlled like that by humans. Interesting,
Yeah.
not in like a ugh way.
Yeah.
It's like always, even with way back into our jack-o'-lantern episode so long ago. But what was his name? Something Jack?
Skeleton Jack, or wait, Pumpkin Jack.
Yeah, pump, is that what it was? No.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was like Sneaky Jack, or like
Oh my gosh. I never thought I would forget it because I said his name like 50
I know.
times.
But while you think about that, but it's just like if you head back to one of these old episodes of ours where we talk about different Halloween traditions and where they came, and it's the jack-o'-lantern story. Sneaky Jack makes a deal with the devil, and then trying to like, or no, he's like trying to trick the devil.
Stingy.
Stingy Jack. I knew it was something like, you
Cause
sneaky
he,
my mother.
yeah, cause he was a fucking stingy guy who never paid for anything, tried to skimp out on the devil.
Yeah. And then he tries to fuck over the devil and then still get into heaven, and God's like, you made a deal with the devil, like you're not coming in here. And
Yeah.
what the fuck? And then he tries to go back to the devil, and doesn't he trick the devil twice?
No, cause then well, he did trick him like once as to become a coin, and
Yes.
then he got him stuck in a tree. But then when he went, he was like, okay, now I'm scared. But he like um tried to get into heaven, that didn't work. Went back to the devil
Went
the
back.
third time, and was like, can I please come to hell? Like heaven won't let me. And he's like, dude, you screwed me over more times than I can
For
count.
1,000 years,
Yeah,
right?
you
Like,
owe me money, like my guy. No. And then he's left to walk the earth with his little turnip
so,
head.
and that was a long loop de loop around. Why are you trying to fuck over? I mean, that's just maybe human nature to try to like always come up, do it
Right.
on something, but like, just don't try to fuck over a Kelpie. Don't try to fuck over the devil.
Yeah.
And even yours, like the Morgan. The Morgan.
Yeah, the Morgan, the Morgan would
Yeah.
either one. I know.
Kind of
It
that too. Interesting.
yeah. And it kind of like it made me think about, okay, where were these, like how would you explain like a drowning if like somebody in your family, for instance, went to the river and drowned, but their body was carried away by the water, never to be seen again. How would you explain that? And it kind of it like sparks this like curiosity in me where I'm like, wow, like um I mean, I believe in Fae. I love Fae, but at the same time I can see like this is where, you know, those kind of like answers or explanations were created and crafted into you got to stay away from the like the rushing river, the ocean, like um streams, things like that, lakes, ponds, swamps, because you don't know, you know, so many people drowned and
Yeah. And it's interesting, like I know when Christopher Columbus, um, piece of shit that he was, sailed and talked about how he saw sirens and mermaids. And then I remember a quote from him. I should have added it into this episode, but where he was quoted to see this mermaid, breach the water with such height and such like beauty or whatever, but or no, not beauty, with such height, and it was so amazing. But then he had commented how he was expecting a mermaid to be more beautiful than it was. Yeah, first of all, you motherfucker, what the fuck? You of all people.
yeah.
Well, people are claim that it was like a manatee that he saw.
Oh,
And I'm like, how do you figure? I don't know. So on one,
yeah.
like, okay, Christopher Columbus, idiot, but whatever. And then on the other hand, I'm like, who decided that he saw a manatee all of a sudden and not,
Yeah. And a few things in my research, just looking up my first two, like legend has it that these creatures are no longer around because they were hunted. And I'm like, okay, like I believe in dragons too, baby. So
straight
I
up.
wouldn't be surprised. Um, I have another little additional creature. He's pretty quick. My last little random guy, I had never heard of him before. And if you know me, one of my favorite animals are frogs. And when I saw him, I was like, oh my gosh, he's so cute. He's not very cute. So let me tell you who he is. Um, now, this is Welsh. I looked up the pronunciation. Don't come for me. Um, Yamhigan, no, Yamhigan Idor, or the Water Leaper.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna call it the Water Leaper from now on, but I was like, I have to at least try with that name. Yamhigan Idor, or the Water Leaper. Now, comes to us all the way from Wales. In Welsh mythology, a massive frog with yellow glowing eyes that is the size of a large bear, like huge mother,
Oh my god.
stalks their victims below the surface of Welsh swamps and ponds. Now, if the water leaper victim is so lucky to rest his eyes on this creature and actually witness this creature in all of its glory, it will see that this monster leaps out of the water, spreading their large bat like wings with a wingspan of like 10 feet wide, out to launch into a quick attack and kill of their victim. And this creature has no other limbs. So not only does it have it's a massive freaking frog head body with massive wings. It also has a tail, a barbed tail with a barb at the end. Think like a scorpion stinger. And
Ew.
it has like this lethal poison in this stinger, okay? So just to give you a picture, we're gonna pop him up. Cute little thing that he is. I see him in the picture and he looks like this big, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how cute! And then to realize he's like 20 times that size, I'm like, oh fuck, no. Now not only does he have the bat wings, the frog body, the long like serpent tail with like a scorpion stinger at the end. Um, its maw or mouth, jaw, all of that stuff has like razor sharp teeth.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And so I wrote fast food anyone because he makes a quick attack and kill like on sight. If that wasn't enough, all of that wasn't enough to stop prey like literally in their tracks. The water leaper has a bone chilling shriek, shrill as heck, that physically stuns its victims before striking. So not only are you seeing this fucking otherworldly creature doing its thing, sticks you with the freaking poison before it can even reach you. It's like, like shrill shriek at you. Like, I would just die right then. Like, are we kidding?
Oh,
Absolutely not.
that is freaking foul.
I know. So at the end of the day, just watch out for this frog, you guys.
No, thank you.
Ugh.
All right, we'll do our sign off at 20030.
Okay. Yep, so that is it for today's episode.
Yes, Cryptids of the Deep. Again, if you guys get a chance to catch this on our YouTube, the Twisted Twins podcast, you will see us in our mermaid
Garb.
Yeah, garb. Check us out.
Yes.
Pretty great.
Yes.
If you guys have any crazy, creepy, twisted stories that you guys want to share, definitely comment below. Check out our TikTok and Instagram. Send us a message on there, or you can email us to the Twisted Twins podcast at gmail.com. Also, our TikTok and Instagram are the Twisted Twins podcast. So definitely check us out. Let us know what you think about the Cryptids of the Deep. Oh, wow. That doesn't really rhyme, but it kind of sounded like it could.
Cryptids of the deep. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you have a fabulous week ahead and you take care and stay twisted. Bye.